What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a brand new review for The Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 14, episode 5, Drama for Your Mama is the title of the episode, guys. So before we go ahead and get into this, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and aren't subscribed yet, then do me a solid favor and stop checking me out in this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video. And with that, you guys, without further ado, let's discuss Real Housewives of Atlanta, shall we? All right, you guys, so before we go ahead and talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta, I want to briefly discuss the ratings. So I know that the ratings have been down for the Real Housewives of Atlanta so far, and we're only 5 episodes in, right? I did see an article last week that came out that was talking about the cast, how they're kind of worried about the trajectory. I saw an article last week where the cast is worried about, these ratings and how it affects them, right? If the ratings continue to drop, one, those paychecks might be decreased because if they're not bringing in the views, I don't know how long Bravo will pay them at the rates that they are paying them at, right? They're gonna have to decrease because they're gonna be like, we're not making back the money that we're paying these women per episode. Because you guys remember a few years ago, that's when they went from paying them that whole big lump salary to paying them per episode. So I don't know how things are going to fare with the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Then I also saw in the same article where they are thinking about firing Candy and Kenya. I don't know. I don't have any feelings about that. I do like both Candy and Kenya currently, so I don't really have an issue with that. I do feel like Marlo needs to be demoted. I definitely feel like that. And Sheree, for her to be an OG, she comes off like a lapdog, if we're going to be honest with you. She comes off like a lapdog to Marlo. Marlo, I don't know if the concept of is in her head that I'm no longer a friend of, I'm a peach holder, because there are things that she does and it's just like, why do you do it? So the cast is worried, from the article that I read, the cast is worried that they might do a shakeup, right? And I will say this, if Real Housewives of Atlanta does do a shakeup, because I know Carlos King made some comments. I don't watch his podcast, so I don't really know what he said. But let's talk about Roni real quick. Roni has done a shakeup. Roni has gotten a whole brand new cast. We don't know these people for the new Roni reboot, right? That premieres on my birthday, July the 16th. So we don't know what the new Roni cast is going to look like. It could fail, it could flop, and it could be good. So I would say hold off those, we need to revamp it. I don't necessarily know if Real Housewives of Atlanta needs a revamp, or I just don't know what needs to be done with Real Housewives of Atlanta. I don't know. So I won't say, we need a new cast, because we could get a new cast and they could be, because with the Roni reboot, from my personal opinion, right? I am going to watch it. I am going to give it a shot. But looking at the new Roni reboot, honestly, those women don't look like they know each other. And I think that's another issue with the state of reality TV. The relationships. Some of these people just meet each other and they form the friendships, right? Summer House, Martha's Vineyard. Some of those people don't know each other. Some of them know each other through other people, but they don't necessarily know each other like that, right? But that's neither here nor there. But for Carlos to talk about what needs to be done on Real Housewives of Atlanta and Potomac, I beg of you and I implore you to take a look at your own shows. Love and Marriage Huntsville. Take a look at that, because that seems like a sinking ship, because a lot of people are done after this season. So it is what it is. But let's go ahead and talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta finally. So you guys remember last week's episode, it ended with the ladies going up to Kenya's room and banging on Kenya's door, which I thought was then disrespectful as hell, right? Because her daughter is there, so her daughter is in the room asleep, and here y'all are knocking and kicking the door. It's very disrespectful. You could have startled that baby and woke her up out of her sleep, right? And then for Marlo to call Kenya broke ass, I'm like, says the woman who was building a house last season, but said house is no longer being built. So what happened? Exactly. Sounds like a little bit of money issues, right? So then, she's talking about telling Kenya to put Brooklyn in another room. Again, that is her child. For what? Why does she need to put her child in another room to entertain the likes of you, Marlo? Like, that's what gets on my nerves with Marlo. So they eventually left, right? So they were going through this door, and the door, I think that door was already propped open. I have to go back and look at it. But when Marlo was walking through the door, she grabbed the door and she tried to slam it on Monyetta. We're gonna talk about that in just a little later, right? So Kenya talked to Sheree and she talked to Monyetta, right? So she basically told the girls like, hey, my core group of girls that are here, Monyetta and even Sheree. I was like, you consider Sheree a part of your core group? Okay, that's a problem, right? But she said y'all can stay, but the others can go. So that means Marlo can go, Sonya can go, and Courtney damn sure can go, right? So Sonya was like, well, Kenya, I did this and I did that. And she's like, oh, well, Sonya, you can go home. I started laughing when she told Sonya, you can go home. I was like, oh, Sonya, egg on your face. I would have just said, you know what? She said her core group of girls can stay and the other ones can go. I would have been like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm a peace out. So Marlo, we see Marlo as she called her life coach. And I'm like, Marlo, you really should ask for a refund because I don't know that this life coach is really helping you out like that. But whatever. Like, I'm gonna leave my opinions about Marlo to myself because Marlo is just, she's a handful. So we see the next morning, Kenya had to call the EMTs because she wasn't feeling good. I think she was running a fever, had some chest pains. So Sheree told the other ladies, that is, can we please, can Sonya, not Sonya, well, Sonya too, but can Courtney go somewhere? That woman's voice is grating. To hear her, oh God, to hear that woman's voice is so irritating. And me not liking Courtney has nothing to do with Candy whatsoever. So I don't want to be like nobody be like, oh, that's because you don't like her because of Candy. It ain't got nothing to do with Candy. It has everything to do with, I think she's looking for a moment, and I think that her voice is irritating as the fuck. That's really what it is, right? So Sheree told the ladies that Kenya had a fever, right? So Monyetta broke down crying because her mom had passed away in July, and my heart goes out to Monyetta. So Marlo decided that she wanted to say a prayer for Kenya. I was like, girl, you could have kept that prayer. Ooh, do not pray. If you don't like me, if you don't fuck with me, please never pray for me. That is the one thing I'm gonna ask of you. If you don't fuck with me, if you don't like me in that manner, do the fuck not pray for me, baby. I don't need them prayers. I don't need the devil or witch magic coming for me. No shade to anybody. That's me being facetious. But not the devil shit, the witch stuff. If you want to pray for me, if you want to do anything for me, do nothing. If you don't like me, do nothing. Don't think of me, don't pray for me, don't do not a damn thing. But that's that, you guys. Let's pause here and move forward. All right, you guys. So there was something that I did forget to mention when they were when Monyetta, Sheree, Courtney, and Marlo together, right? So Monyetta had mentioned about the night before when Marlo slammed that door in her face, right? And it was the gaslighting for me. You see, only person now she said it in her interview that Marlo did try to slam the door in the girl's face. But everybody else was like, oh no, she didn't do that. And the cameras rolled back. Yes, she did. Speaking of cameras, Sheree. When Sheree is talking about, oh, well, that wasn't me that kicked your door. But they show her knocking and put her foot like this. I'm like, so what was that, Sheree? Like, what was that? What was that? Huh? Exactly. Sheree. Oh, Sheree. Every time you come back, you are a complete disappointment. The first time you came back after being fired, you were up Kim's ass and wig. Now you're up Marlo's ass and wig. And again, You are a OG. An OG. That's the sad part about it with Sheree. She's a fucking OG, but she acts like I don't know what. But hey, that's it, you guys. Now we can pause here and move forward. All right, you guys. So I want to talk about Kenya, and then we're gonna backtrack and wrap it up with Candy. So we see that Kenya. So Kenya ended up having the flu, right? And I was wondering. I'm like, did she get the flu from Drew? Because you guys know Drew had the flu, and we actually saw Drew earlier, and we saw Drew in this episode. And I think that's another thing that's kind of missing with this season. Not all the girls are filming together, right? It's just certain groups of girls that are filming. And I just wonder what that was. I know that people were talking about why Drew wasn't in the first episode, but it didn't. You know, they were talking about her contract hadn't been finalized, but I don't know how true that is. So, like I said, Kenya had the flu, so she's back in Atlanta. So she did not get to perform in Magic City, and you know, Sheree went over to visit her. So they did talk about the banging on the door, and Sheree wants to say it wasn't her, right? But once again, production is showing that she did bang on that door and she did kick it, right? Here's another thing that I have an issue with when it comes to Sheree, right? So with Sheree is one way with one group of girls, right? So she's with Kenya, and she's talking about how Marlo was dead wrong. But you don't say that when you're around Marlo. Like, that's my issue with Sheree. Sheree plays the fence. She's done it with Kim. Like, she did it with Kim season 10. When Kim was talking about Candy and she was talking about Nene them, right? But then you with them and you don't agree with the things that Kim says. But then at the reunion, you and that's another issue that I have with Sheree. Sheree forgets the shit that she says. And it's like, girl, it's on camera. Like, that'd be my thing with Sheree. And that was also one of my things with Eva too. Like, y'all forget y'all shade and the things that y'all say and do. Like, that's my problem with Sheree. But Sheree told Kenya about her fibroids, and like I said, I do like the fact that she's talking about the fibroids because at least she's talking about it, unlike turkey neck ass Giselle. So I don't have an issue with that. So we later in the episode see as Kenya, Drew, and Sheree, they went to go get IVs, right? So Sheree asked Drew, like, where do we stand? Because Sheree feels a way that Drew went on some interview after the reunion and said that the things that Sheree gave to them, she confiscated it almost as soon as the reunion was over. Now I will say, I know that sweatshirt that she had, I know she gave one to Andy. That I do know. But I guess Drew was like, it was a She by Sheree bag that she wanted, but her people snatched it, right? So Sheree says, oh, well, that was my personal bag and it had my stuff in there, so it should have never came out. Well, that sounds like a problem for your team. And I mean, if your friend wants to promote, say, hey, let me take this bag and promote it, I would think you say, hey, girl, okay, this is really my personal bag. It got my stuff in it, but girl, let me take it out and you can have it. Post it on your social media, tag me, send people to my website. Speaking of that website, Sheree, you are out your motherfucking mind if you think anybody is paying those astronomical prices for that bullshit. I was looking because somebody that I follow on Twitter posted the shit for how much that stuff costs. You are a motherfucking fool. Who the fuck is like? No, ain't no way. You are not Beyonce, girl. You are not Beyonce. You are not Beyonce. You are not Rihanna. You are not anybody for me to spend that much money. I think I saw something for $300. I was like, girl, what the fuck? Ain't no motherfucking way. Sheree can go to hell with that dumb shit. But let's pause here. Oh, no. Speaking of, so let's talk about the situation with Drew and Marlo, right? Now, Drew, I be defending you, girl, but you do have a little line problem, don't you? Now, not with this situation with Marlo. Now, you did say that you don't say the word shooting, but production shows you saying the word shooting. But I'm gonna chalk that up to a little bit of semantics. I really can't, but I'm gonna be nice and try to, right? But she was right when she was talking about how. Now she said she was sending up against the wall when she was talking to Marlo. You weren't technically standing up against the wall, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of a point for it because you were standing. When Marlo came around you, you were by the wall, but you did say you were standing. Marlo was sitting. Marlo eventually got up and yelled in your face. You were correct about that. I wonder what Marlo's gonna have to say about that at the reunion. I hope Andy. I hope and pray that Andy grills Marlo at the reunion because I still just don't understand this situation about Marlo and her nephew. Because at one point, Sheree was talking about the fact that Marlo's nephew worked at OLG, right? Candy said that he worked at OLG. She said, and I don't watch Candy speak on it like that, but I did see some clips of her speak on it. And she said, yes, he did work at OLG. I think it was before the pandemic, but then the pandemic happened, and you know what happened with the pandemic? We couldn't do anything. So when they finally opened back up, I think she said he didn't come back, right? And she also said that this person, his roommate, never worked for her and that he did not meet. Well, so it's possible that the man could have met the guy at OLG, right? That's a possibility. But not in the way that Marlo was trying to make it out that he met the man at OLG because they worked together. And even if that was the case, how does that then tie back to Candy is what I'm asking the question. Him working at OLG, let's just say for the sake of saying he worked at OLG, he met the man at OLG working together, they became roommates. This man took your nephew's life. What does it have to do with Candy? Like, I don't see anything that connects Candy to this situation. Nothing connects her to that situation. So I don't know where Marlo's coming from. And then, like I said last week, I knew I was correct. The fact that she keeps saying, now we know that things probably happen at OLG. We saw the show Candy and the Gang, and you know they've talked about some things that have happened there, right? But my thing is, there's no comparison. Your nephew did not get shot, stabbed, or anything at OLG. It was in the comfort of his own home. What happened with Melvin was not even at OLG. What happened to Melvin was at Blaze. So I don't know what Marlo's point is, but honestly, I don't really care. We're going to pause here and wrap up the episode. So Candy, we see Candy. So Candy and Todd, they were talking, right? So Todd was showing her, I guess, like this big poster board of his movie called The Pass, and the synopsis. Well, I'm gonna give you guys a brief synopsis of it, right? I guess it's a couple that's together, and they're giving each other their, you know, how people say, "Oh, my past is this," right? You know, if I ever came in contact with this person, my husband or my wife would be okay if I slept with this person, right? You know, you got a hall pass, right? Now, I'm not trying to be shady or anything, but what is the purpose of that movie? So, I'm wondering if, because I'm just thinking about it, because that's a what if scenario, and nine times out of ten, it's never gonna happen, right? It's never 9 times out of ten, it's never gonna happen. Your past, you're never gonna meet them, and they're probably not gonna want to sleep with you. So I don't understand it, unless in this movie, this couple. Actually, this would be a good plot if the couple have a past, and one of them actually meets that person at their past. They get to know that person, and they have an affair with the person, and then their spouse finds out, and the spouse actually doesn't like it. You know, it causes a huge rift in the relationship. Now that would be perfect. I think that would be good. Because other than that, I was like the past. I was like, okay, what is the premise of this movie? And like I said, I'm not knocking Todd. I just don't understand. I mean, because thinking about what a hall pass is in a relationship, I was like, what's the premise of this movie? But neither here nor there, right? So while they were talking, Candy started texting somebody on her phone, right? So she then told Todd that you know she's finally spoke to her mama after BravoCon, but she didn't mention BravoCon. And I don't have an issue with Candy, right? I like Candy. But when it comes to your relationship with Todd and the fact that your stepdaughter heard this, that's a problem. Like, I saw somebody tweet this on Twitter that if Kayla or Todd cuss Mama Joyce out, I wouldn't feel no type of way. I would be like, hey, it is what it is. You continuously disrespect this man that has done nothing to you. So Mama Joyce, we see her go over to Candy's house, right? Mama Joyce, I just kind of want you to burn this shake and go wig because it's really ugly, and I want Candy to burn that wig that she had on when she was talking to Weenie. Burn both of them, right? So Mama Joyce feels like Todd needs to lighten up. And I'm like, he needs to lighten up when you drag him. So one of those things, one of those questions, and I think it was that episode of Watch What Happens Live, it was like, say 3 nice things about Todd. And the nice things that Mama Joyce said about Todd were all shady. Like, you can say some, now see, when Andy plays that game, it's typically with people who have an issue with each other, just to see if they can say anything nice. And most times they're going to get a shady response. But this is your son-in-law. This is your daughter's husband. I don't understand why Mama Joyce feels the need to constantly attack Todd. Like, the man has done nothing to you. So then she's talking about she's talked about him being George Jefferson, and she was talking about the fact that he doesn't teach Ace how to take the trash out. Mama Joyce, let me say this real quick, because I think it needs to be said. When it comes to Candy and Todd's marriage, if your daughter is happy with the things that he does and doesn't do in the household, if she's okay with it, why do you have an issue with it? What works for Candy's marriage might not work for you, but it works for her. And as long as your daughter is happy and healthy and in a great, healthy relationship, why do you care? As long as he treats your daughter right and your grandchildren right, that includes Riley, Ace, and Blaze. If he treats those 3 right, you should have nothing to say. I don't get it. Like, I feel like with Candy, but I'm glad that she she kind of put it down, but I don't think her mama's going to get it. I feel like Mama Joyce is still going to take any digs at Todd that she can. And like I said on Twitter last night, it might, if it gets any worse, it might be an issue for Candy and her marriage, or it might be an issue between her and her daughter. Like, I feel like maybe Candy would have to cut her off at some point, or like I said, it could be an issue that tears apart her marriage. And sometimes I feel like that's what Mama Joyce wants, is for her marriage to be torn apart. I don't know. It's just what it looks like sometimes, but that's the episode, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, and share the video, guys. And until the next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.